Two beautiful things, fall colors and football. It doesn't get much better than this. They meet in Harmony in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but we're expecting a collision on the field this afternoon as the Western Michigan Broncos host the Bowling Green Falcons. Hi there. It's great to be with you. I'm Chris Bosters alongside the All-American Marcus Ray. Two teams in two different states right now. This is a rebuilding Bowling Green Falcons program. Western Michigan, on the other hand, is 2-2 in conference, but they still think they can get to Ford Field for a MAC championship.
Yeah, there's a lot of football left to be played, and Western Michigan, I don't think, can afford to lose another game. But what they do offensively, I think, gives them a chance to beat anybody. They need to really stop the run. Last week, they gave up too many big plays against Eastern Michigan.
Bowling Green is coached by a former teammate of yours, Scott Loeffler, in his first season, and they've got a lot of talent at the tight end position, beginning with Quinton Morris.
Well, one thing Scott Loeffler knows is tight end football, especially when you talk about Terry Malone being his offensive coordinator. Morris is a dynamic tight end. He's a matchup problem for most linebackers and safeties. You can move him around in space. He's a great blocker, and he has sure hands.
On the other side for Western Michigan, they have one of the most dangerous players, maybe not just in the MAC, how about the entire country when you talk about Levante Bellamy?
Levante Bellamy has had a storied career. He's carried the ball a ton here in Kalamazoo. He had a big game last week. I thought they went away from him at a critical point in the game last week, but still had 3 touchdowns. He can go inside it and outside. He runs those zone plays as good as anybody in the country.
Western Michigan has been unbeatable at home this year. They're outscoring opponents by an average of 30 points per game at Waldo Stadium. We'll see if that holds up against Bowling Green. Kickoff is coming up next. Welcome back to Waldo Stadium, Bowling Green in Western Michigan, just a few minutes away from kickoff. Overcast skies, and we're expecting some rain in the forecast this afternoon. It hasn't started yet, but definitely a fall day on the southwest side of Michigan. Ready for the coin toss. It is senior day for Western Michigan, by the way. This is one of the most successful senior classes in program history. 30 wins for this group. And they do have another home game after this, but it's a Tuesday night game as that portion of the MAC schedule arrives in earnest when the calendar switches over to November. So 22 seniors honored before kickoff today as Western Michigan elects to wear their light-colored uniforms despite this being a home game. Marcus, both teams stubbed their toe last week. Bowling Green lost to Central Michigan. Western Michigan lost to Eastern Michigan. And both teams' defenses were gashed.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's that time of year where when you have 6 or 7 games on film, Chris, people will start to figure you out. And in this conference, you really don't know who's going to win week to week. I think Bowling Green going to Toledo proves that. But I think these matchups determine the style of football you play. Eastern Michigan showed Western something that they weren't prepared for with the backup quarterback. So they weren't prepared for the quick passing game. But then on the flip side, Bowling Green wasn't able to really stop the run defensively either and prevent big plays when they played against Central Michigan. So bottom line is you need to stop the run, don't give up any big plays, and take care of the football.
Well, like most teams who play Western Michigan want to do, Bowling Green is going to try and milk the clock as best they can. And they get the ball first to start this crossover showdown between Western Michigan of the MAC West and Bowling Green of the MAC East. And there is a punishing hit administered by Roy McCree, the sophomore from Detroit, on special teams. And that gets the sideline jumping here in Kalamazoo.
That's how you want to start a football game off, crossover game here in the MAC. Started off with special teams. Western Michigan coming off that last-minute loss to Eastern.
So there is Grant Loy. He was not the starting quarterback for Bowling Green when the season began. He takes over for Darius Wade, a fifth-year Boston College transfer, who's a little bit banged up right now, unable to make some of the throws that this offense requires. And Loy gets it out of there on a first down passing option that works, picking up the blitz. R.B. Marlowe picks up a Bowling Green first down on a fine run after the catch.
And that's what you're going to see out of this offense today. Quick, short passes, trying to isolate those linebackers, and you want to get Lloyd going in a good rhythm and use the short passing game as a substitute for the run.
Bryson Denley, the jet sweep motion man, and Loy is a very capable running quarterback, and he drags a couple of white jerseys with him across the 40-yard line to the 42, a pickup of 6 on first down.
I like the play call there by offensive coordinator Terry Malone, using the quarterback run to keep the defense honest off the misdirection from the jet sweep.
Loy's second attempt of the game is incomplete, right in front of Rodell Rockman, the redshirt junior from Columbus. This is a Bowling Green team that loves to run a lot of 12 and 21 personnel, either 1 tight end, 2 running backs, or 2 tight ends and 1 running back. A smash mouth style of play from Scott Loeffler, the head coach, that in a lot of ways mimics some of the teams that you played on, Marcus, at Michigan.
Yeah, Scott Loeffler really understands offensive football. Michigan was known for using their tight ends. And even when Terry Malone was at Michigan, we had 3 or 4 NFL guys.
On the blitz, Trayshawn Hayward gets home and sacks Grant Loy all the way back at the 31-yard line. That brings up 4th down.
And you'll see right in the middle of your screen, just a delayed linebacker zone blitz that opened up. The offensive line wasn't able to pick it up right away. And I think Western Michigan could have used some of this sauce last week. They really couldn't get to the quarterback down in Ypsilanti. But there you go, big-time kid Trayshawn Hayward making another play.
The punt is away from Matt Naranjo, and it bounces around the 15-yard line and is touched down by R.B. Marlowe. And it's Western Michigan's high-octane, explosive offense that touches the football for the first time, not even 2 minutes into this game. And that offensive line you see huddled up around head coach Tim Lester is among the best in the country.
This young man here is an unbelievable football player. He's tops right in the nation, as you see our graphic here, but he throws it just as good as anybody in the country. He's very accurate. He takes care of the football. Then they have a very good offensive line, veteran group too.
Wasink, aerial attack, and the pass is caught at the 25-yard line along the boundary. Sky Moore, the true freshman from New Kensington, Pennsylvania, with the reception from just outside of Pittsburgh.
Well, they don't ask Wasink to truly go vertical until they cross the 50-yard line, so they run a lot of timing routes. When you have a great running back like Bellamy, they just set up their passing game off of the run action.
2nd and 1, and Bellamy on the end around makes a cut and gets up to the 29-yard line, a 4-yard gain, and Western Michigan has its first down of this drive.
Running that outside zone play is something that Western Michigan loves to do. It's their bread and butter. They run it off tackle, and then Bellamy has the patience to wait for a running lane to open.
Hard count, and a couple of players flinched for Bowling Green, but so did the left tackle for Western Michigan. However, it appears that this is going against Bowling Green.
Offside, defense, number 44, entering the neutral zone, causing the offensive player to react. 5-yard penalty, first down.
We hear from Kurt Johnson for the first time today. The penalty is against Carl Brooks, who is making an appearance in his home state in this game. Brooks is from Lansing, Michigan. And on 1st and 5, Wasink from the gun. He shoots it long into one-on-one coverage, and Sky Moore cannot pull it in. Good coverage on the play by Bowling Green as Ty Redding make that Jawan Hudson was going step for step with Moore.
Well, essentially, they just took advantage of the penalty and got themselves into a 2nd and 5, 1st and 5 situation.
So a free play, essentially, for Western Michigan, the way they schemed that.
Yeah, you see the series history, man. These guys have been going at it for a while now, Chris.
Levante Bellamy is bottled up at the line of scrimmage by Nico Lautinen, number 54, who had some help from the weak side linebacker Colby Coleman. And there is some history between Western Michigan and Bowling Green. Tim Lester has not lost to the Falcons in his 3 years here in Kalamazoo. Bowling Green looking for its 2nd win in MAC play under first-year head coach Scott Loeffler. Bowling Green had one of the upsets in conference play this year when they knocked off Toledo in the I-75 rivalry showdown. And that pass is batted down. Giovanni Ricci was the intended target, and Jordan Anderson, one of multiple true freshmen starting in the secondary for Bowling Green, was all over the All-MAC tight end.
Well, first of all, Wasik had plenty of time to throw the football. Giovanni Ricci is their number one guy at the tight end position. I mean, he's just as good as Quentin Morris on the other side for Bowling Green. But I think that play was predictable, well scouted by Brian Van Gorder's bunch, the defensive coordinator for the Falcons. They understood when Bowling Green goes trips that they like to throw to the inside tight end.
First punt of the afternoon for Nick Mahalik is a good one, and it is caught just inside the 20-yard line by Jake Rogers, the true freshman from Medina, Ohio. Both teams have swapped the football. No points for now at Waldo Stadium. It's Scott Loeffler's first season as the head coach in Bowling Green. This is also his first head coaching assignment ever. Marcus, a guy you know very well. You played together at Michigan. Loeffler was a student assistant on the 1997 national championship team under Lloyd Carr. And you guys have got a lot of history.
Yeah, Scott Loeffler was there when I got there my freshman year. He was a redshirt freshman, and he's done a fine job. Very football smart guy, great person, and he's like a brother.
Bryson Denley on the jet sweep. He is on the depth chart as a running back, but Bowling Green likes to split him out wide much of the time. Denley is a redshirt junior and a very fast player. He ran a 10-3 100-meter dash. Two tight end personnel here for Bowling Green, something this offense likes to do. Loy, a capable thrower on the run, finds his go-to target, the converted wide receiver, now tight end, Quentin Morris.
Give the Bronco defense credit. They didn't get fooled by the offensive formation and the play action. They read their keys and took away all the downfield throws, and then that's why Loy had to check down to Morris.
That's the 33rd catch of the season for Morris. He came into this game third among tight ends nationally in receptions. He gets the ball a lot. Loy picked up a yard off the right side of the line of scrimmage.
See, one of the things that you'll notice, Terry Malone kind of tipped his hand just a little bit in this formation. When you see two wide receivers split out and one of them is covered up, when you have a guy here and a guy here on the same plane, then the inside receiver is ineligible, and it's an automatic quarterback run. This offense that Scott Loeffler is helping put together is very similar to what Florida did with Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow.
What about what you did at Michigan? I know you were a safety, but on offense anyway. That pass is caught. R.B. Marlowe over the middle, down at the 44-yard line of Bowling Green, first down.
Yeah, one of the philosophies that Terry Malone and Scott Loeffler, they've been knowing each other for years. What they like to do is slide the protection, give you one underneath route to clear out linebackers, and then bring another guy behind. So they do that well. It's called running routes on different levels. So when you have a guy like Grant Loy, who's smart, who understands the offense, his job is to move the chains and take care of the football and not be a hero.
Denley motion behind the line of scrimmage. And Loy finds Denley in the flat. Ankle tackled near the 50-yard line. He took a shot from Anton Curtis, number 3. It was Zaire Barnes who wrapped him up initially for Western Michigan. But a gain of 6 again for Bowling Green's offense. Bryson Denley, an all-purpose threat, and he's been getting involved early for the Falcons.
Yeah, and what they're doing is using a lot of motion, different formations, trying to change their strength and outnumber the defense at the point of attack, whether it be run or pass.
Loy again with a blocker in front of him, and he's brought down by Hayward inside the 40 to the 39-yard line. Bowling Green moves the chains again.
Now, you're going to call Trayshawn Hayward's name a ton. Young man had 18 tackles a week ago in a losing effort. He knows exactly where the ball's going to go. He gets off blocks well. He had the big sack earlier, but he's going to have to really be disciplined and read his keys because this offense is showing some misdirection.
Loy throws on the run, and the pass is caught by Morris. who eclipsed the 1,000-yard career mark in receiving yards last week in an 18-point loss to Central Michigan. But he's just a junior and is laying the foundation for what could be a breakout season next year. This is a rebuilding Bowling Green team looking for consistency as much as anything else in the middle stages of this season. First carry of the game by the true freshman Trayvon Raymore to the 30-yard line, and a big 3rd and 1 coming up for both of these teams on Bowling Green's second drive of the afternoon.
Yeah, this is a good drive for Bowling Green. I expect to see, well, if they're under center, definitely look for some off-tackle running out the zone. But look at that tight split at the top by the receiver.
It's Raymore who runs into the backside of his tight end, Austin Doris, and has the vision to pick up the first down, a gain of 3 to the 27.
It's good blocking up front. Just base blocking. They only needed 1 yard, and those inside guys, Jack Kramer, Matt Tanner, and the guys, Tanner, those guys got a great push, and all they needed was 36 inches. And they found a way to win up front.
On this offensive line for Bowling Green, a lot of guys are playing new positions this year. On the comeback route, that's R.B. Marlowe, who has found some soft spots in Western Michigan's secondary. Pass complete to the 19 on a gain of 8.
Now, this play was well designed just because they showed you bootleg action off the run, and then they threw it back to the wide receivers who actually just ran stop routes.
You saw how Bowling Green has not been a good red zone offense this year, but they continue to pick up first downs on this drive. Marlowe, again, the option in the passing game, and Drake Spears lost his helmet. He has to come off the field for a play.
Yeah, and that's kind of hurts this Broncos defense.
Sure does.
Spears is a guy, is a playmaker. Obviously, he had an interception for a touchdown a couple of weeks ago. Flies around, makes a lot of plays in space. He's the leader of that defense as well. But I think Bowling Green watched that Eastern Michigan tape from a week ago and said they're going to throw the football short. They're going to find some spots because Western really didn't challenge on the perimeter, as you see cornerbacks playing off with Curtis and Lupro.
Loy on the quarterback keeper doesn't get much. White jerseys flock to the football again. And Marcus, didn't you say that I'm just going to be calling Trayshawn Hayward's name a lot today? He was in on the tackle there.
Yeah, he's right in the middle of this defense, and it's really by design set up for him to make the play. This 4-3 front, you have true 2 outside linebackers with a strong and a weak, a Sam and a Will, and then you have a Mike linebacker. Everything funnels back inside to number 23, and he does a fine job of making the play.
He is 5th in the nation in tackles per game. Almost 12 tackles per game is his season average. Loy, off-target pass, really his first of the game. And he was looking for Tyrone Broden, the true freshman from West Bloomfield, Michigan, on the opposite side of the state.
Yeah, that was just a missed opportunity for the offense. The linebackers miscounted the underneath wide receivers, and that's how Broden was able to get free. Pass was a little wide, but you have to make that play.
3rd down and 11 from the Western Michigan 14-yard line. Loy with a clean pocket, looking for his tight end Morris, who is double covered on the play by Justin Tranquil, number 2, and Kareem Ali, the 5th-year senior. Western Michigan's defense locks down in the red zone.
Yeah, that was very disciplined football on the back end, and they didn't get fooled by the motion. They tried to get Morris out on a wheel route, tight end out, and then turn it up. And Ali was playing over the top, so they're really game planning to try to take number 80 Morris out of the game.
31-yard try for Nate Needham, the redshirt junior from Chesterton, Indiana. He's 3 for 6 on the season and make it 4 for 7. Bowling Green, an impressive drive on the road against Western Michigan, strikes first in the later stages of the first quarter. 3-0 Falcons. Back after this from Waldo Stadium. Nate Needham with a 31-yard field goal to cap a 15-play, 68-yard drive. Now, Marcus, if Bowling Green wants to spring the upset today, they're going to need to score touchdowns, but the template of long, time-consuming drives is what Bowling Green needs to do to have a shot.
Yeah, it's called ball control. If you want to keep a high-powered offense off the field, like Western Michigan with their passing arm, John Wassing and the legs of Bellamy, some of the big play guys on the perimeter like Hall, you keep them off the field. Keep away.
And you saw Bowling Green is good in kick return coverage, but Western Michigan is really good on kickoffs as Keith Mixon is sprung to the 40-yard line. Mixon is one of the most dangerous return men in all of college football. The Mississippi State transfer with his 7th return of the season of 30-plus yards.
Yeah, and this is good individual blocking. College football has outlawed wedge blocking when you put 5 bodies in one line like a wall. So now everybody has to find a man to block, and they had it dialed up perfectly. That's what you want to do for your offense, is get some field position so that you can run your offensive system.
From the 42, Giovanni Ricci, the tight end, in motion, and Wasink, the fifth-year senior, gets it out to the true freshman Sky Moore, who breaks a tackle and is into Bowling Green territory before he's brought down by the middle linebacker Brandon Purse.
When you talk about Sky Moore, Jalen Hall, Mixon, these guys have a lot of yards after the catch. Western Michigan doesn't go vertical a lot. They don't really stretch the defense until they get into about the plus 40 area. They want to get those chunk yards. But a lot of these receptions and passing yards come after the catch.
The wide receiver core for Western Michigan was very much an unknown commodity coming into this year. And here is the senior Devon Tucker with his first carry of the day. He spots Levante Bellamy from time to time, enjoying a pretty good senior season out of Sterling High School in Somerdale, New Jersey.
Yeah, he's a good 1-2 punch to have. Likes to run in between the tackles with that low center of gravity at 5'8", 210 pounds. When he gets his shoulders going north and south, he's going to fall forward most of the time. But that was a great block on that left side by Jalen Moore.
Some pistol now with 2 tight ends flexed off the line for Western Michigan. Second straight carry for the bowling ball Tucker, 5'8", 210. And he gave Melvin Jackson a piggyback ride and gains inside the 40 of Bowling Green.
See, when they line up in that pistol formation, they create balance versus a 4-3 defense. And what I mean by balance, you have a guy here, you have a guy here. And so that kind of outnumbers the defense and gives you an advantage on the perimeter next to the tackle.
Third straight carry for Tucker, and he is strung down. Fine play in the backfield made by the junior linebacker Colby Coleman from Hoover, Alabama.
It's a good play for the Falcons. Now, when you face a formation like that and you're Bowling Green, you have to tell your defensive tackles they have to command a double team to free up those linebackers, because when there's 8 guys across the line with 2 of them off, then they have a hat for a hat. So that's a great job inside by the big fellas of the Falcons.
Here's a 3rd and 4. Bowling Green can dial up some exotic blitzes from Brian Van Gorder, but that's a smash mouth call by Jake Moreland, the offensive coordinator for Western Michigan. Tucker has been the go-to back on this drive for Western Michigan. He checks out of the game now after picking up a first down.
And you'll see that's a great job by the center, Luke Jariga. And when you talk about his combo block with Caliendo, that gives them the advantage once you spread those linebackers out the box.
Back to Levante Bellamy, and he drags players wearing both jerseys with him down near the 20-yard line. I'm glad you brought up Luke Jariga, the senior center, Marcus. He has made 47 consecutive starts. This is 48 now today, and that is tied for the longest active streak in all of college football. He's an Iron Man.
Yeah, he's a lifer. I believe he'll play at the next level. He's the quarterback of that offensive line, and he does a fine job.
Bellamy around Purse, but another defender streaked in on the play to minimize the gain by Bellamy. Good play from the defensive backfield by Bowling Green, and it brings up 3rd down. That once again, Marcus, was another true freshman in the secondary for the Falcons, Jawan Hudson.
Yeah. There's going to be a lot of dividends paid in this Scott Leffler's Fighting Falcons program with these young guys out there. And we're in that time of year where those freshmen are really going to use those 4 games that they're allowed to play.
Bellamy is met at the line of scrimmage by Walter Hare, the redshirt sophomore. And Bowling Green's defense has done an effective job against Levante Bellamy throughout the first quarter today.
Yeah, but they're not letting him get beyond the second level. In a few plays prior, they forced him to the sideline to run wide, even with his great speed. This Falcons defense is trying to keep the football inside and in front, and it's working.
Western Michigan is 50% on fourth down conversions this year. Mixon brought in closer to the line. The give to Bellamy, and he's got a first down to the 16. He only needed 2, he got 3.
Yeah, where they just overloaded the Falcons defense right at the point of attack.
There's an injured Bowling Green Falcon on the field, and we'll take a timeout with 30 seconds remaining in the first quarter. Western Michigan trails, but they're on the move. Ball in the red zone for Tim Lester's gang. Tim Lester has found his dream job. A star quarterback here. He threw for over 11,000 yards for the Broncos in the late 90s and did a great job positioning himself after several successful stints as a quarterback's coach and coordinator to take over for P.J. Fleck here in Kalamazoo. On first down, Sky Moore, the wide receiver on the jet sweep, gets to the 12-yard line, a minimal gain, just about 2 yards. Moore was a high school quarterback himself, Marcus, and can play just about anywhere. He's truly an elite athlete.
Yeah, and one of the things they'll do off of that same play is run the jet sweep and allow Sky Moore to throw the football, so you have to be very disciplined. But Western has a lot of weapons, though, and give Lester credit for trying to feed all those mouths.
1 quarter in the books, and a very good start for this scrappy bunch led by Scott Leffler in Bowling Green. 3-0 at the end of the first. Ziggy, even on the road for Bowling Green. They brought the cheerleading contingent up to Kalamazoo. You know, this is a crossover game in the MAC, so these teams don't always play each other year in and year out, and it'll be at least 2 seasons before they play again. But here we go. Start of the second quarter, John Wasink has Western Michigan in the red zone. And on the throw into the flat, there's his favorite target and his roommate, as a matter of fact. Fellow fifth-year senior Giovanni Ricci. They have a lot of chemistry, a lot of shared games played together.
Yeah, and Western Michigan is finding some success in this 12 personnel formation, and 12 just meaning 1 back, 2 tight ends. Essentially, you're having 2 tight ends off the ball in that last formation. But right here, they're going to a formation where they're going to get some strength right there from the tight end, especially in the blocking game, so they can try to reach that outside linebacker.
Bellamy finds some daylight and scores! The MAC leader in points per game with his 13th rushing touchdown of the season. A bounty of Bellamy indeed.
Well, he's definitely the bell cow. He's had a great career. Fun kid to watch play, and when he gets the ball, they just block a little bit differently. They know he can go the distance. I like the chess match that they ran with Jake Moreland lining up those 2 power tight ends to the left, and then broke it back to the right.
A good answer for Western Michigan. They hit pay dirt and lead 7-3.
And one of the things you'll see here on this touchdown run, Western Michigan wants to hit the ball right there. So they come out and line up with 2 tight ends, and then the ball cuts back. That formation forces the defensive linebackers to slide to the 2 tight end set, and then it opens up a run lane on the backside. That's just understanding how to attack a 4-man front with 3 linebackers, something Urban Meyer had perfected about 12 to 13 years ago.
Well, you perfected the telestrator right there, my man.
I know I got a little sloppy at the end, but I was trying to get it, though, buddy.
Did you know that our producer, Mike Bacon, I mean, the poor guy, he's got his foot in a boot, and he hauled that telestrator up, I mean, dozens of flights of stairs in pouring rain and snow and driving wind just so we could have a telestrator on this broadcast. What a guy.
That's my guy,
That's
man.
my guy.
He's putting in great effort to make this thing happen, man.
A+. Well, a windy afternoon, as you can see. Rain in the forecast, but still dry for now. And a relatively short kick is brought back by R.B. Marlowe, who tiptoes his way out of bounds just shy of the 25-yard line. 1st and 10, Bowling Green. What kind of answer do you want to see from the Falcons now that they trail for the first time?
Well, I think they had some success with the misdirection, timing routes on the outside, finding some spots to their inside receivers in between the hashes, trying to isolate those Western Michigan linebackers in coverage. But I think when Bowling Green gets down the field, after a long drive, they had a 6-minute drive that led to a field goal, which is a win for the defense. They have to finish their drive getting in the end zone the way the Broncos just did.
Bryson Denley in motion. Loy flushed. He can run. And he steps out around the 29-yard line. Pursued by Patrick Lupro.
Part of the strategy by doing play action out of your passing game with Lloyd, when you have your offensive line slide, it takes the defense out of their rush lane. So that's why Lloyd was able to go through his progression. No one was open, but still have an opportunity for a positive play around the backside.
Loy is making his 3rd start of the season today and 4th career start out of Buckeye Central High School in New Washington, Ohio. Denley is thrown to the turf by our main man, Hayward, who is well on track to meet his season game average of 11.6 tackles per.
And Hayward wasn't fooled by all the misdirection in the backfield. When you're a middle linebacker, you want to look through that offensive guard to the near back, and it'll never fail you. Between those two guys, they're going to tell you where the ball's going, and that's why he didn't get caught up in the jet sweep trash or like trying to get back around to just in case Lloyd kept the football. He's playing discipline, and he's reading his keys extremely well.
6 tackles and a sack already today for Hayward, number 23 in white. Loy on 3rd down. That was a throw off the back foot as he had men in his face. And Western Michigan, with its best defensive series of the ball game, forces a 3 and out.
Just didn't seem like the Falcons were in rhythm, and you'll see coming from the right side of your screen. It's called a zone blitz, where you get 2 linebackers blitzing in the same gap or coming from the same side. Zone blitz means that you can still send 5 guys but drop 6, 3 under, 3 deep, and force the ball out quick, and that was a fine job.
Naranjo's kick is away, a wobbler, and Mixon backs out of the way. Good kick to take the dangerous returner Keith Mixon out of the equation, and Marlowe picks up the ball at the 20 or 21, give or take. You saw something that you liked on that 3rd down play?
Yeah, I really liked how the Broncos lined up in their base defense, but then they had the ability to still blitz from distance, and they sent 2 linebackers, and I really think they fooled Grant Lloyd just a little bit. But you'll see more of that, especially in passing down situations where linebackers are blitzing from depth.
Well, it's hard to fool John Wasink, the 5th-year senior who grew up about 35 minutes away from campus here in Kalamazoo. He's from Grand Rapids on the south side. And the first carry of the game for true freshman Sean Tyler nets barely a yard.
Well, that time, those linebackers, Brandon Pierce and Jerry Roberts, Coleman, those guys stayed in their gaps. They weren't outnumbered by those tight ends. So if Western Michigan is going to run the football out of this formation, then they're going to have to, there it is, cheat the running back up, make the check at the line of scrimmage, Chris, because it almost becomes a video game because they want to run the ball to the big bubble.
Sean Tyler must be wearing an IFB or something like that. How about the spin move by Keith Mixon? And he does not go down. He takes himself out of bounds at the 30-yard line.
And that's part of the yards after catch that we were talking about in the first quarter. When Mixon gets his hands on the ball, the play is not over. Give Jake Moreland and Wasik some credit for making that call at the line of scrimmage. If you're Bowling Green, you might want to disguise your coverage, show the defense one thing, and then rotate back into what you really want to do.
Tyler is swallowed up in the middle, but that third down run is enough to move the chains.
And in talking to Coach Tim Leffler this week, he told us on the call that it wasn't that Bellamy, they didn't want to use Bellamy in certain situations last week. It was more so they didn't want to overuse Bellamy. And so that's why you're going to see Devon Tucker and Sean Tyler and some other guys getting carries.
Minimal gain for Tyler on first down, and this is something that you brought up last week. You did notice that Western Michigan went away from Levante Bellamy a couple of times, and they're cycling through their running back depth pretty well here.
Yeah, and they are, and they know that they can either run or pass when they have to or when they need to, but you also want to get the young fellas some carries. Then when you mix in Giovanni Ricci at the tight end spot, it just makes them tough to cover, especially when they make you defend the entire field.
Tyler again, who is really the successor to Levante Bellamy in waiting, getting some valuable reps here as a freshman with another carry, but third down and long coming up for Western Michigan.
John Wasik has been in this situation before. He's completing about 60% of his passes on the year. And their system is designed, as I was trying to say earlier, they try to make you defend the entire field. So when you see Ricci here, he's going to work this area of the field, but because that gives him a matchup with the linebacker.
Devon Tucker is the running back now on third down and 8. And a false start against the junior left tackle, Jalen Moore.
Full start, offense, number 76. 5-yard penalty, remains third down.
Jalen Moore had a few of those last week, too.
He did.
Down in Ypsilanti.
Yeah.
So they're going to have to shore up that communication for Moore and Caliendo. And just that left side of the offensive line. He jumped off sides or false started a couple of times last week. And I think it really kind of stalled some of what Western was trying to do.
Now look at this front for Bowling Green defensively. Wasink over the middle, and the pass is caught. Ricci on the receiving end of that dart. He's brought down at the 44, and that's a big conversion on third and long.
Yeah, see, they lined him up in that third receiver spot, flexed out. When I actually drew where he was going, because it forces the defense to overload and have to chase him back to the other side, and that's a soft spot in that zone of defense by the Falcons.
Couple of claps before the snap. And a fine catch made by another true freshman, Corey Crooms. We mentioned all the new faces in the wide receiver corps for Western Michigan. Their top receiver last year, Jaden Reed, transferred to Michigan State in the offseason. They also lost one of their leading receivers from last year, D. Eskridge, to a broken collarbone. So chance for a lot of guys like Crooms and Sky Moore to prove themselves here as freshmen.
And they have a pretty good quarterback throwing them the football. He knows exactly where they're going to be every time they line up.
Here's a shot, sort of, for Wasink, and it's off target. Sky Moore, make that Keith Mixon, had inside leverage on his defender, but he did not bring it in.
Yeah, he ran a post route, got vertical up on the safety. Wasik, no, he put a little bit too much sauce on that one, trying to throw a touch pass, something he does extremely well. They had the matchup they wanted, a slot receiver going vertical on a safety.
Wasink's last 2 seasons as the starter have been cut short by injury. Hoping to have him healthy for a full slate this year as Devon Tucker, the senior, picks up a Western Michigan first down.
Well, Western is in a form of ball control of their own. They're not really going tempo. They're running the ball, getting 4 yards on first down. Even when they're in passing situations, they're able to convert. But they want to take some time off the clock, try to build up a 2-score lead, force Bowling Green to have to fight from behind.
This is an undersized defensive front for Bowling Green. Western Michigan is trying to wear them out here in the first half, but a great job of stringing that play out by Jordan Anderson, the free safety out of Harper Woods High School in Michigan, just east of Detroit.
Yeah, the tough part about getting that outside zone is if it stretches out too far, then you won't be able to cut back, and your running back is running east and west as you look at Jordan Anderson, fine freshman. Young man can fly around. He's a very heads-up kid. He's physical. And they like to get him down in the box as well, too.
Second and long here for Western. Wasink's in trouble, and he flips it out of bounds. He had Colby Coleman in his face.
And it will be third down for the Broncos.
That time, Bowling Green made an adjustment. They brought down a safety in the box, Bozeman, and then they were able to match up on all the crossing routes, even the vertical route, and that's why they were able to get some pressure. But that time when they brought an extra man down in the box, even in a passing formation, they were able to match up a little better and take away one of those underneath zones.
Here's a 3rd and 12. Western Michigan converted on 3rd and 13 already on this drive. Off-target pass through Mixon's hands, and Bowling Green's defense staying strong here through a quarter and a half.
Well, it was a obvious passing situation. It looks like Bowling Green was expecting screen. That was a wide receiver screen to Mixon, and those defensive linemen didn't get too far up the field. Bowling Green was able to read it and react, and I think it was tough for Wasink to try to throw the ball to his left that time. He didn't really get his foot all the way around and didn't throw a great pass, but Bowling Green had it snuffed out.
Mahalik's kick is away, and he put a little too much on it. Western Michigan can't save it, and it's a touchback for Bowling Green. 7-3 Western Michigan. A defensive struggle so far in the first half. It's Bowling Green football when we return. Just how good has Western Michigan been this season at Waldo Stadium? Of course, they're undefeated. You probably could have guessed that, but they are outscoring opponents by an average of 43.5 to 13.5 per game, a plus 30-point differential, but they're only up plus 4 now to this scrappy Bowling Green team. That's an illegal tackle by Trayshawn Hayward against the standout tight end Quinton Morris, and that's going to jumpstart this Bowling Green drive.
Yeah, and it was hard to see, but he maybe even got a face mask in there too. It was just
Personal foul, face mask. Defense, number 23. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot, includes automatic first down.
Oh, yeah. Got a handful, and actually he never let go either. So it's still 1st and 10, but now from the 35. Denley is the tailback. Marlowe in motion on the jet sweep. Crunch down at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, that's a tough play to stop towards the short side of the field. Good call by Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator. Essentially, it's an outside zone play, but it hits a little faster with the tight end. With the wide receiver.
Fun to see Terry Malone go to work here. 36 years as a coach and coordinator. A very experienced staff for Bowling Green. Quick release, pass is caught. That's Denley. First down and more. Now knocking on Western Michigan's territorial door at the 49-yard line.
Yeah, Denley's listed as a running back, but he can move around with his size at 5'10", 173. It's great protection on the left side. Lloyd got rid of the football right on time, and you knew right away when you saw Quinton Morris make the block that play was designed to go to Denley the entire time.
Denley on the ground this time, and he runs right into Ken Aguirre, number 90, all 290 pounds of him. But Denley, credit him, runs behind his pads and picks up 3 or 4 on first down.
I think for Bowling Green, you have to stay out of long yardage situations. And when they're in second and medium, third and medium, then they can keep the defense guessing a lot more.
Scott Loeffler is heated right now, forcing
Timeout,
Bowling Green to call a timeout. We'll take a break as well. Marcus's former teammate, Scott Loeffler, has got something he needs to say on the Bowling Green sideline. 7-3 Western Michigan in a low-scoring first half in Kalamazoo. Final weekend in October of the regular season. Bowling Green at 2-5. Western Michigan at 4-3. On second down, Loy's longest pass attempt of the day is picked off. It's Patrick Lupro. Young man with a nose for the football. He might have a nose for the end zone. Flag flies in as Lupro dances down the sideline and finally is ushered out of bounds. The pick should stand, but Western Michigan might see something shaved off the return.
Going to have to go into my baseball package for this one.
Let me hear you. I'm excited to hear this.
They were going to get some type of illegal block, but
After the interception, personal foul, blindside block, illegal blindside block, intercepting team, number 1. That penalty will be 15 yards from the spot of the foul. First down, Western Michigan.
So Western Michigan still has good field position, but hit me up with that baseball reference now.
well, in essence, Lupro, he stole second base.
Okay.
You know how you have a right-hand pitcher, he really can't see the guy on first base. Grant Lloyd never saw Lupro on the backside stealing second base. I learned that term playing in the NFL, but that's how Ed Reed got a lot of his interceptions. But they rolled the coverage. They actually rolled the coverage. Looked like the middle of the field was wide open, and Lupro was able to steal second base off Grant Lloyd's throw.
And he steals his third interception of the season as well. Bellamy cuts back. What do you think of that? Was that designed?
No, that wasn't designed. It was that they were running the outside zone play, and Bowling Green over-committed right at the point of attack. He had enough vision to be able to cut that back, and that's just something that makes Bellamy special, is he can make something out of nothing.
Now, lightning in a bottle, his teammates say. And it's second down and 5. Wasink open man, that's more. Brought down around the 45-yard line by Jawan Hudson out of Camden High School in New Jersey.
That's an easy throw and catch for Wasink. Once you start going to that 2 tight end set, 2 H-backs, then it puts a lot of pressure on those outside corners, because now you have 8 guys in the box, and then you get the one-on-one matchup on the outside that the offense really likes. And you see the same thing right here. You'll see 8 guys in the box, and those wide receivers are covered by 10-yard corners.
Deep middle. And he shoots Sky Moore long. Wasink has not found his touch on his deep ball yet.
And part of the reason is Bowling Green's doing a nice job of passing off the vertical routes. On the back end, he really wanted Ricci on the outside route, but they defended it well.
Well, you know Tim Lester, a former gunslinger himself, he loves to throw the ball downfield. He admitted to us it's one of the most frustrating aspects of this season. Western Michigan has not hit on a lot of its explosive plays in the passing game this year. They do have Levante Bellamy, however, but he's bottled up effectively there by Colby Coleman, who's having a pretty good game out of the linebacking core for Bowling Green.
And you see that young man, Jawan Hudson. He did a fine job of playing run support from his cornerback position. Bowling Green did a fine job of selling that, because it looked like Bellamy was trying to start to his right and then cut it back like he did before. Bowling Green's answer was to roll up. Johnson right there, keep him on the short and outside. He was able to play that run play unblocked.
3rd and 8. Bellamy. He drags Coleman with him, but Coleman is able to halt Bellamy's progress shy of the line to gain, that being the 34. It's 4th down and a couple here, and an interesting decision for Bowling Green. They're not really in field goal range yet. Make that the 36 where the ball is spotted, and here we go on 4th down. Bellamy, yes sir! Touchdown!
That was a great call on 4th down, and you could tell by the 3rd down play that they were going to go for it on 4th down. They just wanted to make it manageable. And you'll see right to the left of your screen how this opens up. The inside zone play. They ran into the big bubble, which is that gap right in between the nose guard and the defensive end. It goes A gap, B gap, C gap, and that B gap was wide open.
Bellamy ran that like a track meet. You saw him break across the line. He ran a 4.28 40-yard dash in the offseason, so he can fly.
And you'll see, that's freezing right there. This is the bubble that I'm talking about. When you start to get guys going that way and there's no cutback guy, that's when you'll see your man Bellamy
Scoreboard
getting
operator.
out of there.
Bowling Green has 2 timeouts remaining. Bowling Green has 2 timeouts remaining. Please correct the scoreboard.
You know, and one thing I liked about that, too, was just the way that was set up. We've been talking about how Western Michigan has been controlling the pace on offense, but they got that playoff pretty quick on 4th down, and Bowling Green, I don't think, was quite set defensively.
Yeah, and on 3rd down, Chris, they called 2 plays. They knew that they were going to get about 3 or 4 yards. The offense understood exactly what to do, and they knew versus that trips formation, 3 wideouts to the same side, that vacated that area right behind the defensive line, and it was just a perfect storm for zone left, cut back right. Nobody was home.
Well, we just had our first real big swing in the game. Remember, that drive for Western Michigan started on the heels of an interception by Western's defense, their 10th pick of the season. Bowling Green looks for favorable field position here, and R.B. Marlowe doesn't find it. He is cut down on the play by Kamare Carey, the safety.
It's good special teams play. Falcons need to find a way to get better field position than that, but Western put their defense in a good spot. Anytime you can get an offense to start behind the 20-yard line, Chris, especially after a kickoff, that's a big deal for the defense.
Especially a methodical offense like Bowling Green as well that might struggle to score in the 2-minute window. How about the shiftiness by Quinton Morris? Again, he's a tight end. He only picks up 2 on that play, but you could see his wide receiver routes come out there.
Yeah, and you saw the hands. He was able to catch the ball in traffic. They tried to run essentially a tight end / wide receiver screen. Those linemen were downfield, but Western's defense wasn't fooled, and they played extremely fast.
2nd and 8. Loy eventually throws it out of bounds. He had an option to throw, an option to run, and he ends up pitching it out of play.
Well, one of the reasons he wasn't able to get that play off is Western Michigan lined up in off coverage, but the corner sat down because they know it's a 2-minute situation. Bowling Green needs to work the sidelines to preserve some time, and Anton Curtis and Patrick Lupro just took that throw away. It was Lupro actually playing to the short side of the field that time. He just took away Loy's read.
Keep an eye on R.B. Marlowe, number 8 in the slot, matched up on a linebacker here. Throw to Morris in the flat, and a fine open field tackle made by Anton Curtis, the senior from Grosse Pointe, Michigan, north of Detroit.
Number 3, Anton Curtis.
Curtis is a very solid cornerback. I really like his size at 6 foot, just shy of 200. Plays well in space. He plays to the wide side of the field.
Western Michigan, they're first. This will be a 30-second timeout. Clock operator, please reset the game clock to 1:53. 1:53.
And if you're going to play that wide side of the field, Scott Leffler will tell you this himself. You got to be a bad man.
you.
That's a lot of field over there to have to defend, especially when you're on an island. And that's why That's why Scott wanted to go that way.
Scott Loeffler has got a lot of coordinator experience. Most recently, he was the offensive coordinator under Steve Adazio at Boston College. And the tight ends coach for Bowling Green is Louis Adazio, Steve's son. But Loeffler has got a lot of mentors in his coaching career, not just Adazio, but Urban Meyer, Rod Marinelli during a stint with the Detroit Lions. Bouncing ball, and Western Michigan better be careful it doesn't accidentally graze one of its own. It does not. And the ball rolls down to the 35-yard line of Western Michigan. Now, talk about the contrast in styles of these two offenses. Western Michigan has the firepower, or maybe the horsepower would be the better descriptor, to absolutely get downfield with 1:41 left in the half.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see that. And then they also can still give the ball to Bellamy, and he can hit a home run too. They can do it with the screens and the draws. But they're going to make Bowling Green defend the entire field. The entire field means left, right, and middle. And as you see, once they go 3 guys to one side, they like to come back and throw it to the backside hash.
Perhaps looking to test this young Bowling Green secondary. Wasink instead calls his own number for the first time today, and Brandon Purse was absolutely not fooled.
Yeah, the defense actually, that was fool's gold. That play looked like it had been there, especially when Wasink carried out his fake after handing the ball off. That time it wasn't there.
All kinds of confusion pre-snap there. Multiple officials drop a flag. Western Michigan is backing up, giving an indication against whom the penalty is.
False start, offense. Number 11, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
So a wide receiver, Jalen Hall, guilty of the false start. Wasink waiting on the snap from Luke Juriga. Crossing route, Ricci, bodied immediately by Purse, the fifth-year senior from West Allis, Wisconsin.
That's one of Western Michigan's money plays, and Bowling Green was waiting on it, and they were able to tackle him in space.
Wasink in trouble, steps up, and breaks out of the pocket. First down, and he slips his way into Bowling Green territory.
That time the Falcons got out of their rush lanes. Defensively, good coverage down the field, but those D linemen got out of their lanes. Wasink took advantage of it.
Timeout, Bowling Green, their second. This will be a 30-second timeout.
And you'll see once defensive linemen start to see the middle of the field is wide open. Wasink saw that. He understood it was zone coverage. They were only going to rush 4. But I like the extra effort after the fact. Great quarterbacks take care of the football and make good decisions, and that's what he did right there. You see his toughness. Sure, Tim Lester doesn't want his quarterback taking too many shots. But he understands the situation. Probably could have got out of bounds there. But when you over-pursue as a defensive lineman, or you get out of your rush lane, then you're going to give a quarterback like Wasink a chance to beat you.
That was a 20-yard gain for Wasink, who has now rushed for over 200 yards this year. You talk all about his passing numbers, and he came into this game 8th in the country with 2,100 passing yards on the season. Still has yet to eclipse the 100-yard mark through the air today. Hauled in by Ricci inside the 30. First down, Western Michigan.
But the thing I like about Ricci is he understood he couldn't get vertical and get behind the safety, so he sat out right in the zone, and he was wide open.
Hurry up now. And it's hauled in by Crooms, who gets out of bounds at the 19-yard line. Gain of 9.
It's a tough play to defend to that boundary side, the short side of the offense. And if you're a corner and it's not zone football, you're in a very interesting spot. And that time they were able to catch it and get out of bounds and stop the clock.
Right up the gut. Devon Tucker inside the 5.
It's a good call, good change of pace play. Caught the defense sleeping.
And now Bowling Green is forced to call a timeout defensively.
Oh, that's a veteran move by Brian Van Gorder. He wants to give his defense a fair shake.
Timeout. Bowling Green, their third and final. This will be a full timeout. Clock operator.
So what
please
you
put
see here is that
26
just an
seconds
inside
on the game
zone
clock.
play, right up the middle.
2-6.
And Tucker was able to stay on his track, his run course, untouched. And we'll freeze it right here.
Thank you.
See, when you have that type of lane, that means that you're getting great blocking there, and then Tucker just does the rest. But that's what the inside zone play is truly designed to do, especially when you spread those linebackers out. The offensive line, they lick their chops, they get a double team block. They don't even have a Mike backer to go block. So great execution on the part of Tim Lester. Great job by our camera crew with that high shot from behind too.
This is a very good Western Michigan offensive line. Let's not lose sight of that. The lightest player on the starting front line for Western Michigan is 295 pounds. And this is actually the first time that there's been a change in the lineup for Western Michigan. Dylan Dethridge is getting the start at right guard today, but there's been amazing continuity for this offensive line, and it's reaped dividends in the run game as Tucker picks up one on the ground and Western Michigan pads its lead before halftime.
Just power football. Big bank, take little bank, and you'll see the left side of your screen. Watch Tucker. Watch Bozeman right there. 13, the free safety, Jamari Bozeman. He went to his knee. He absorbed the blow instead of delivering a blow. And you just got to put your face on the big fella and run him back. Get your eyes on the football. Keep your head up. But that's easier said than done. You're talking about Tucker at 5'8", 210. He's a short yardage guy. You saw it, especially in the goal line area.
The ruling on the previous play of a touchdown is under further review.
All right, so we'll go to the replay monitor.
And we'll see if the left knee right.
It's not down there. He's on top of another guy.
Yeah, he's on top of another guy. Ball breaks the plane. It didn't look like that left knee hit the pavement.
It looked like Tucker was almost kept off the ground by Jamari Bozeman, number 13 for Bowling Green. And if it stands, it will be Tucker's second touchdown of the season.
Keep an eye on the left knee. Does it hit the ground? Now, the arm goes down, though. Now, the left forearm does go down just before the ball crosses the plane. And that may be what they're looking at to see it when that arm went down. And it wasn't like a hand, like a third leg. It was more elbow to the ground, forearm.
Well, and here's what we say every replay review. The words indisputable video evidence. It was called a touchdown. Is there conclusive evidence to overturn the call on the field? Hard to say. It's not in that angle, that's for sure. That looks like a touchdown from there. Kurt Johnson is our referee today. Western Michigan looking for a win on Senior Day. They fell behind 3-0 in the first quarter.
After further review, ruling on the field of touchdown stands.
And they're now up 20-3 with some change left before halftime.
I think that's the right call. The officials got it. Good drive by Western Michigan in a 2-minute situation. They were able to do it on the ground, in the air, converting a big third down. And John Wassink with his big scramble, I think, led to this situation, and great play calling.
Point after try now for Thiago Caps from Rio de Janeiro. 21-3 Western Michigan now, as the Broncos have found their touch on their last couple of drives. And really, Marcus, looking back on this first half, it's been much closer than a 21-3 score would indicate. The turning point for me was Grant Lloyd's interception.
Yeah, and that was a good play, too. And as you see the rushing yards, Western Michigan is really having their way. Almost 5 yards of crack. Bowling Green struggled to run the ball. Now, their backfield doesn't look the same as it normally does, though, Chris. But when you start to play from behind, obviously you're going to throw the ball a lot more. See the scoring drive here, 7 plays, 65 yards in just over a minute and 18 seconds. That's a very efficient drive. Something that Western Michigan showed some signs of last week, and then they sputtered a little bit. But when they're playing at that high level, on the ground, through the air, and they're not turning the football over, they're hard to stop.
Nick Mahalik, the sophomore from Skokie, Illinois, with the ball on the tee. Swings the leg on through. And Marlowe wisely signaled for a fair catch. Bowling Green gets the ball at the 25-yard line. We'll see if they do anything with it. But I'm glad you mentioned the running
fair
back
catch
position.
by Bowling Green State University. The ball, by rule, the ball will be placed at the 25-yard line.
Bowling Green right now only carries 3 scholarship running backs on the roster. The ideal would be 5. But right now, only one of those 3 scholarship running backs is healthy, and it's Bryson Denley. Andrew Clare, who was a third-team All-MAC running back last year for the Falcons, is out of the lineup today. So is Davon Jones, a fifth-year senior and Boston College transfer. But there's a gash run for Bowling Green. To jumpstart that drive, it's Denley up to the 41-yard line. Bowling Green has to hustle up to the line of scrimmage. They are out of timeouts. And they spike the ball to stop the clock with 15 seconds left.
Well, Western Michigan was in their prevent defense. You know, they're playing the situation, trying not to give up anything deep. Don't want to let the ball get behind the defense. Bowling Green got some of that cheap real estate where it was just sitting there right for the taking, and they popped off a run. Now they have a legitimate chance to get into a scoring position, but they don't have any timeouts. So you have to be able to get the ball outside, deep, into the sideline.
Loy goes over the middle. Marlowe's got it at the 40 of Western Michigan. That will momentarily stop the clock. And the spike is performed with 7 seconds left.
I think the game plan here for Leffler, Scott Leffler that is, and Coach Terry Malone is you have 7 seconds and no timeouts. You try to throw a ball to this man right here, Morris. That guy right there, you want to throw him the football. If I can isolate him by himself, let him run a deep out and get out of bounds. He's one of your most short-handed guys.
Western Michigan, they're second. This will be a 30-second timeout.
Well, with Western Michigan's defense on its heels right now, Bowling Green benefits from a chance to draw up a play in the huddle. Again, no timeouts for Scott Leffler and company.
Well, if your defensive coordinator, Lou Esposito, you use that timeout. You talk to your guys, tell them to be smart. Don't fall asleep giving up a deep one. But he wants to tell his guys that, hey, Bowling Green needs to work the sideline. Okay? So be smart, tackle the catch. But as I tried to show you earlier, they're going to try to get this man the ball right there on a deep out route. He has a corner outside of him.
Loy's in trouble. Down he goes. Back at the Bowling Green 45-yard line. Ali Fayyad, the junior out of Dearborn High School, brings us to halftime with a cornerback sack.
That is the end.
No, Bowling Green has limited quarterback sacks very effectively this year. But Western Michigan says enough's enough. They refuse to yield on the final drive of the half. Western Michigan fell behind 3-0. They scored 21 unanswered. And we go to the break with the Broncos in control at home. Halftime between the Bowling Green Falcons and the Broncos of Western Michigan. First half highlights are coming up, so stick around. Welcome back to halftime here in Kalamazoo. Last year, you might not know this, but there were over 1,000 fumbles in FBS football. Up here or in your living room, a football on the turf gets everyone excited, but down on the field, it's a different story.
We see them every day. In daily life. In different dimensions. In varied shapes. Piles. But in football, after a fumble, a pile is a churning, seething, living fray.
If you just fumble, you're pretty nervous. He's trying everything he can to get that ball.
There's no rules in the bottom of the pile. The refs can't see it, so it's game on.
Guys don't cut their nails. I've gotten skin gouged. Somebody tried to poke my eyes. It gets dirty down there, man. You gotta do what you gotta do to get the ball.
The bottom of the pile, it is a dog-eat-dog world. The better man will come out on top, and it does not matter what he has to do to get there.
Last season, FBS teams combined to lose 1,095 fumbles in all. A lot of those lost amid a menagerie of limbs in extraordinarily tight quarters, complete with a pile's own perfume.
Hey, I'll tell y'all something. The big men stink. The big men stink bad. They don't smell good.
It's not pretty. Just imagine how you feel going to the gym and then add shoulder pads that you've never washed and then a little bit of manly musk. It's quite an aroma.
You can't breathe, you can't move, and all you hear is yelling and people breathing hard. So occasionally a fart will slip out, but you really don't want that to happen.
Get the ball if you can, but get up and get out for sure. As with any ecosystem, the pile breeds not only a unique brand of survival, but its own odd histories.
I'm not a big sweat guy. At the bottom of a pile, I had a guy who was like up towards the top, and he was just dripping sweat, and it was going straight into my face mask. And I didn't like that at all.
I like vividly remember Clayton Thorson telling me a joke at the bottom of a pile. It was like, ooh, this is really romantic right now. And I was just like, what? No, it was a quarterback sneak. He got the best of that.
And of course, sometimes the pile doesn't form in a fumble. It's the celebration of victory.
We beat Notre Dame in double overtime, and Tyrone Swoops jumps in the end zone, and he wins the game for us. So I throw him on the ground, but I land on the bottom, so he's on top of me. And I just feel like 200 pounds at a time. It's just like, and just piling on me. It was like the happiest moment of my life. It was also like, wow, I might die right now. There's so much weight, the whole team.
So next time you see a mound or a stack, pass by a heap or a horde, consider that special place where people aren't striving to reach the top. All they want is to get to the bottom.
You might get some bumps and bruises here and there, but at the end of the day, I love it.
My grandma likes to think that it's all just beautiful and happiness and butterflies. Sorry, Grandma, it's not.
The specialists are out on the field, warming up for the start of the second half. A cool afternoon, to say the least, here in Kalamazoo, and overcast skies. Western Michigan leads Bowling Green 21-3. Western Michigan got its ground game going in the first half, Marcus. They've rushed for 141 yards. And here are some of the highlights.
And one of the reasons this young man, Levante Bellamy, look at the vision, the ability to cut back, understand where to hit the run for his first touchdown. And they were trailing 3-0 at the time. And you come back, my man, Lupro, steals second base, if you will. Gets a great return, Chris. Gave them some great field position. And Western Michigan was able to capitalize.
Now, part of that return was called back because of a penalty, but it really doesn't matter when you've got a home run threat to continue the baseball references in Levante Bellamy.
Exactly right. And they were able to crack that one right down the middle. And then after a big run in a 2-minute situation, Tucker was able to plunge one in there to finish that 21-point second quarter by the Broncos.
So Levante Bellamy with another multi-touchdown game, 72 yards already in the first half. What does Bowling Green need to do better in the second half?
They need explosives. They need to get the ball down the field without using up so much clock. I think it works against them. And they need to create some turnovers defensively. They need to get Broncos in long yardage situations.
Still halftime at Waldo Stadium. We'll count you down to kickoff in the third quarter when we return. Let's take a look at today's campus moments, brought to you by Dr. Pepper.
Spooky Fansville by Dr. Pepper.
Did you hear that? Someone's in the house. The can. I think it just ran a skinny post. Go State.
Oh, it's a State fan.
Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville.
This guy.
A game reset for you if you're just joining us as we get set to start the third quarter. 21-3 Western Michigan, a big second quarter for the Broncos in particular. They scored just a couple of seconds into the second quarter, and at that point their offense was on track. Bowling Green led 3-0, but Marcus, as you mentioned in the previous segment, now down by 18, you have to find the way to get the ball downfield quickly.
You have to stop the run, but offensively you really have to get the ball vertically and on the other side of the field to put yourself in a scoring situation. They had a 6-minute drive which led to a field goal, which in my book was a win for the defense. And then Western Michigan used turnovers, big plays in the run and pass game, third down conversions to get that 3-score lead in the second quarter.
Coming up on the 2 o'clock hour here in the Eastern time zone, and we're starting to get the sprinkles that have been in the forecast since we woke up this morning. Senior Day, also salute to Service Day for Western Michigan. That's why you see the stars and stripes pattern on the Broncos helmets. Sharp look for Tim Lester's bunch. At 2-2 in MAC play, this is a Western Michigan team that still has a pulse in terms of winning the division and getting to Detroit for the MAC championship, but they don't have any more wiggle room now.
No, this is a must-win if you're Western Michigan, and they're playing that way. It's championship football time as you go into November, and you don't want to let that red-hot Ball State team, who they play next, get too far ahead of them. Just for tiebreaker type situation, because the MAC, you never know who's going to win from week to week, but you have to take care of your own business.
The best part about that Ball State game coming up on November 5th, as far as Western Michigan is concerned, it's played right here at Waldo Stadium, where the Broncos are outscoring opponents by an average of 30 points per game.
As you see Mixon, they flashed it up. 40-yard return on his last one, averaging 30-plus per.
And this is a returnable kick as well, but he muffs it. That's a live ball, remember, and Mixon takes the touchback. You jinxed him.
As soon as I saw the graphic, I thought, well, 40 yards on his last return, and then he muffed that one. Fortunate for the Broncos, they were able to get the touchback and recover it. I think this is a must-stop here for the Falcons if you want to have a fighting chance. And if you're Western Michigan, you just keep running that football as you see what they've done on the ground so far with Bellamy. 12 carries, 72 yards. There's 13 carries out there that Bellamy didn't take. So it just shows you the variety of guys who can carry the ball in this offense.
And they've managed his load a little bit so far in the first half. That pass a little bit off target in the direction of Sky Moore, the freshman.
That's a good play to start off with, because that kind of play, when you get a cornerback playing 7-8 yards off, it's a glorified run play, and they were trying to get 6 to 7 yards on just a quick stop route.
Bellamy finds a sliver of daylight and exploits it. He's gone. Touchdown number 3 for number 2 in white.
That's the one thing about this offense is they have guys that can just do it. Watch, freeze it right there. You'll see the Le'Veon Bell type patience.
Yeah.
And once he gets to this point, no one in the country is going to catch number 2. That's why I think he has a legitimate shot to play at the next level. Third down guy, probably can return some kicks, but his patience and vision to be able to see that backside hole is what made that go.
Caps knocks through the extra point. 5'9", 190. You think he can handle the punishment in the NFL?
Well, they don't run the ball as much in the league, depending on who you play for. And it's essentially they're playing basketball on grass. And you'll see right here, look at the blocking up front. They get the double team. Pause it right here. Now, it looks like he's going this way, but somehow he has enough vision to take it back to the left side. Go ahead and run it. And you'll just see his patience. That's how Le'Veon Bell makes his money. It's right there. He never gets caught up in the trash. He keeps his feet hot. All the drills you work on in the offseason, you saw it with the jump cut. But he understood where he really needed to get to, sold the defense something different, and then he just knocked it out the park.
75 yards on the first play from scrimmage of the second half. Right after my broadcast partner Marcus Ray said that Bowling Green needed to force a 3-and-out defensively, realistically, to stay in this game. Western Michigan opens things up less than a minute into the third quarter, less than 20 seconds into the third quarter.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for the Falcons to give up that big one to start the third quarter, and now they're really in a situation where they have to be methodical. They don't have to panic, but they need some field position, and they need explosive plays just like the one they just gave up.
And R.B. Marlowe trips over his own blocker and barely gets to the 20-yard line. 1st and 10 for Bowling Green. They moved the ball well in the first quarter. Grant Loy completed 12 of 19 passes for 85 yards with an interception. And Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator, said just how good of an offensive mind Scott Loeffler is. And again, Terry Malone has got 36 years of coordinator experience under his belt. That comes with a lot of gravity to say something like that from him.
Yeah, and now at this point, I mean, they're going to work on things in their playbook, and they want to find the guys who are going to play hard and show that buy-in offensively of not giving up. And you want to find out how much fight this team has.
It's a 9-yard run on first down for Grant Loy, the redshirt junior. They really say that he is more of a runner than a passer at quarterback. And the middle is plugged up. Bryson Denley eventually stacked up. How about Ralph Holly, number 8 in the middle there? Big dude with a little number, 6'2", 285.
The big fella in there pushing people around out of West Bloomfield. Coached by the great Ron Bellamy, another Michigan guy, head high school coach.
Loy has got room to run, and he's off to the races. He is tracked down in the red zone by A.J. Thomas. There's an explosive play for you.
And that's what this offense needed. I mean, that's that shot in the arm. You get the old Urban Meyer, if you will, quarterback keep with the counter and the 2 lead blockers outnumbering them at the point of attack. A lot of people call this offense the single-winged offense.
Bryson Denley on the jet sweep inside the 10.
So they have the potential to do it. They just have to be able to finish drives and score when they get in this area, and then they have to get off the field on defense. But this offense is very, very capable.
Denley cuts it back inside and is into the end zone. For a second, it looked like he had room to the outside, but a wise maneuver by Denley, and that was fast for Bowling Green.
Well, they came right back down and answered the bell, and they got some great blocking up front. Watch the cut right here, understanding where his wide receiver was trying to block the defender. Good play by Denley. He's been showing some flashes of just being a dynamic, elusive kind of guy. So they're trying to get the ball into their playmakers' hands. You talk about Lloyd with the QB run, and then you come back with the play to Bryson Denley. That's great coaching by that Falcon staff.
Extra point attempt is good. And Bryson Denley averages over 110 all-purpose yards per game. And that is his 5th touchdown through both the air and on the ground this season. Bowling Green hanging around, down 28-10 after its first touchdown of the day. For a Bowling Green offense that has struggled at times to move the ball down the field quickly, that's a good template to work off of going forward. 1 minute, 43 seconds to move the ball 80 yards on just 5 plays. Now Bowling Green's defense needs to make a stand. Western Michigan has been unstoppable since the start of the second quarter. And here comes Mixon from on the edge of his own goal line. Look at Keith Mixon. Nifty cut. All the way to the 40-yard line. His second return of 40 yards today.
Makes you wonder, you know, when you're kicking this ball off, a lot of people fair catch these or touch it back, but watch all the individual blocking Mixon picks up. Didn't get touched until he was 30 yards down the field. And they believe he can go the distance every time he runs it. Good effort trying to strip it out from the backside. But you got to shore up that kickoff coverage. Easier said than done. This man's been doing this all year.
Teams are going to be looking at what Western Michigan is doing in the kick return game this offseason. With no more wedge blocking, they're still having success. A pass into no man's land, but there's a reason for that, as we see by the flags on the field.
There's going to be some contact on that secondary on the vertical route here. But as Brian Van Gorder would tell you, he'd much rather give up 15 than give up 7 points.
Prior to the pass, holding, defense, number 18. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
So that moves the ball after, again, the outstanding kick return by Keith Mixon into Bowling Green territory to the plus 49 for Western Michigan. Western Michigan has run just one play in the third quarter so far. It was a 75-yard touchdown run by Levante Bellamy. Much less on this carry as he is stacked up at the line of scrimmage.
Well, you see that time the Falcons built the wall. Then they brought an extra man in the box to keep an eye on Bellamy after that last 75-yard run. And you don't want to give this guy any space because he'll make you pay dearly.
And there is Luke Jariga calling out the defense from the center position. Son of former Illinois standout and Denver Broncos offensive lineman Jim Jariga. And the pass protection works there on a short completion to the sophomore Cam Cooper. His third catch of the year.
And that's much more like it for the Falcons defense, Chris, to play top down, meaning stay a little bit deeper, force the underneath throw, and tackle the catch, and then make this offense earn it on third down instead of giving up a big one.
3rd and 5. Complete to Moore. He's still going. Broken tackle for a touchdown.
And one of the things we talked about in covering Western Michigan is their ability to make plays after the catch. You know, that'll go down as a big touchdown pass. That was just a simple first down stop route. And this is some of the things that Scott Loeffler is going to have to change the culture, is getting these guys to believe and fight, especially on defense, but tackling the catch, getting guys on the ground, and not letting a first down turn into a touchdown.
5th catch of the day for Sky Moore, and the 2nd touchdown of his very promising college football career. (35-10) Western Michigan. How about this? We haven't even played 4 minutes in the third quarter, and we've already seen 21 points combined. 2 touchdowns for Western Michigan, 1 for Bowling Green. Still still waiting on the defenses to make it out of the locker room. On the return, this is R.B. Marlowe, who sprints his way across the 25-yard line.
Well, for Western Michigan, they really got their last drive going with the big return from Nixon, and then they got the penalty, so they were able to flip the field without even running an offensive play, essentially. So they started off in a good situation. Now Bowling Green comes out. They have a decent return. They need to find a way to match their offense's intensity on defense. If you go down and get a drive or get some explosives, you can't give it right back.
Up the middle, Bryson Denley slips through the defensive line of Western Michigan and is hauled down by the linebacking core. He's out to the 32.
I think that Bowling Green could have ran a little bit more of this play or this set with Denley back there. 1 out of every 3 plays in the first half.
Quinton Morris down the sideline. Pushed out of bounds at midfield by Stefan Claiborne.
Well, he showed you right there his route running, and you see his numbers switch from wide receiver. Number 2 tight end in the nation as far as catches per game. And I think all of that speaks for itself. 1,000-yard guy, still a junior. Just put on a little bit of weight, but still runs great routes.
And natural weight, too, the coaching staff emphasized. Loy is a big dude, but he had no chance to escape Trayshawn Hayward, beg your pardon. He's brought down behind the line of scrimmage for a loss of 4, and it's 3rd and long.
Well, and then Bowling Green, their strength and conditioning coach, Kevin Tolbert, is one of the best in the country. And he spent some time at Michigan with Miami Hurricanes, was out in San Fran with Jim Harbaugh. Then he was at Michigan with Harbaugh for a few years. So Scott Loeffler has put a staff together, and he just got to put the rest of the pieces together and get his guys to buy in.
2nd and long, by the way. Denley on the catch. 1 yard beyond the original line of scrimmage to the 48.
And that's a good choice by Grant Lloyd. You know, even though you're down, you don't want to force any passes, Chris. Take what the defense gives you. Give yourself a chance on 39. Run a play, see what happens, and then you go from there. This is a 4-down territory area.
You think so?
Yeah, definitely. Keep an eye on Quinton Morris right there in the slot.
Western Michigan runs a stunt up front. Missed tackle as Quinton Morris is brought down shy of the 1st down marker. There's a penalty in the offensive backfield, and it looks like it's a hold.
Holding. Offense, number 55. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Remains 3rd down.
That's on Caleb Bright, the left tackle.
See right to the left of your screen, Caleb Bright. He picks up right there. He gets that left arm on the shoulder pad of Big Braden Fisk. Nice job, young fella, passing off the defensive stunt, but you got to keep your hands inside.
Pass is complete to Austin Doris, the 2nd tight end and grad transfer from Indiana, but he's brought down way short of a 1st down. And contrary to what you expected, Marcus, it looks like the punt unit is checking in for Bowling Green.
Yeah, and I think the thought process after thinking about it, if I'm Scott Loeffler, you want to give your defense a chance. Flip the field, try to pin them back. You might get a turnover or something, but you don't want to keep giving the Broncos the ball at midfield.
Naranjo with the punt. It bounces at the 15 and rolls a couple of yards beyond that. And it is touched down by the long snapper, James Carolyn, from Anthem, Arizona. Western Michigan football up by 25. Western Michigan begins this drive deep in its own territory at the 13. This is an offense with big play potential, however, and Devon Tucker, after an initial cut, bursts his way to the 20 and a gain of 6.
Yeah, they're coming back out in the formation they had a lot of success with. If you take a look at Wassing's numbers, he hasn't been asked to do a lot. Biggest thing, he hasn't turned the football over, kept the chains moving all day.
On the ground again, Tucker into the secondary. And finally pushed out of bounds by Bozeman. And the running game is gashing Bowling Green right now.
See, this 2 tight end set, or a tight end and an H-back, it just outnumbers. Let's freeze it right here. If you look right here, that's the block that really gives you the advantage on this play, especially when you start to the left. It's an easier block for that H-back to wall down that outside linebacker and defensive end.
Good ID on that. Good down block. Nothing in the middle that time as David Konowalski makes the tackle of Devon Tucker.
So, in talking to Coach Van Gorder, the defensive coordinator for Bowling Green, I mean, he's been in the NFL. He's been at several Power 5, places, and he understands how to stop the run. But when you don't have all of the same pieces, you can't run all your exotics. But most coordinators want to play man-to-man, Chris.
Giovanni Ricci is finally tackled out of bounds by the linebacker Purse, but you're starting to see some missed tackles by Bowling Green and a lot of yards after the catch.
Yeah, and Western's taking advantage of that. So like when you're trying to rebuild a program the way Leffler's been doing and putting this all-star staff together, in my opinion, with Terry Malone, Eric Campbell, Steve Morris, and all those guys that have been places, they understand that it takes a while to do it, but once you do it, you get the buy-in that you're looking for.
Here's the freshman Tyler, who nearly busted that one were it not for another tackle by Purse.
Tackle by Purse.
It's interesting that you mentioned the all-star staff assembled here in Bowling Green. Collectively, this staff has mentored 150 NFL players, and it was a key question asked by the interview committee during the process to hire the next head coach at Bowling Green. What kind of staff are you going to assemble? And is it going to be one with a lot of experience? And that is exactly what Scott Loeffler did. Carry by Sean Tyler there.
Yeah, so they all understand that it's going to take some time to get the scholarship numbers up, to get the buy-in with the scheme.
Touchdown, Western Michigan.
Another touchdown on the ground, this time Sean Taylor, who becomes the third running back to score today for Western Michigan.
You'll see it right to the left of your screen. You get the defense started one way, which is what Western loves to do with that inside-outside zone play. And then the running back just picks his hole. But Brian Van Gorder's playing a lot of base defense. You're not going to see a ton of different looks out of this BG defense. They're trying to learn what they like to do as a base defense and then build from there. And then you don't want to put those corners in a bad spot.
42-10 Western Michigan after Capps completes the scoring sequence with another made PAT. Western Michigan had 141 yards of rushing at halftime, and they have already doubled that total in the third quarter alone. Give Western Michigan 288 total yards on the ground following that 7-play, 87-yard drive. And you've talked about this in part. The biggest challenge for Bowling Green this season has been consistency, and for the defense in particular, it's holding up through an entire game. And we've danced around this, but there's just not necessarily the talent. You talk about dudes to hold up right now for Bowling Green, and that's just to say that Scott Loeffler and Brian Van Gorder and the coaching staff, they're still bringing in their guys to Bowling Green, and they will be for a while. It's only year one of a rebuild.
Yeah, and they noticed that in spring ball when you don't have the seniors and you're limited in numbers and you start counting your scholarship guys. So they're in a building process, and it's hard to be consistent when you have to rotate young guys in and guys who don't understand how to win from the last situation that they were in from a coaching staff.
That was nearly a takeaway on that kickoff return. Roy McCree almost stripped the football from Cedric Mitchell, but Mitchell is ruled down on the play, and Bowling Green takes over at its own 24-yard line.
But the one thing that you do know is that Bowling Green is going to be a tough, hard-nosed program, especially when you talk about the experience of those coaches, and you just don't have that guy who can stand up and, in the locker room and know what it looks like. But there are a few seniors that were on that last championship team by Bowling Green that do understand how to win.
Loy is tackled by Ali Fayyad, who has a sack in the game for Western Michigan as well. And that's a great point, because Bowling Green is still not very far removed from a MAC championship in 2015. But since 2013, there have been 7 different men to hold the title of head coach in at least a game for Bowling Green. Now, there are 3 interim head coaches on that list, but there has been a lot of turnover at the head coaching position, and part of that was due to the success that this program enjoyed earlier this decade. MAC championships in 2013, 2015, 4 straight bowl seasons, but at some point when Dino Babers gets called up to Syracuse and Dave Clawson gets called up to Wake Forest, that turnover is going to catch up with you from a recruiting and continuity perspective.
It definitely is, but now when you take a look at Scott Leffler and who he is and where he's been.
That's caught by Morris, the tight end, and he's brought down by Alex Grace after picking up a Bowling Green first down.
Well, Scott Leffler, to me, is the perfect guy for Bowling Green. He's from Barberton, Ohio. He played at Michigan. He's mentored guys like Chad Henne, most notably Tom Brady. So he understands how to build a program. He's been a lot of places, and he's taken that knowledge from all those coaches that he's been with, from the NFL to college, and he's going to make this thing work in due time.
Throw on the run, intercepted. Alex Grace, the senior from Saginaw, with the pick, the second of the day for Western Michigan's defense. Give them 11 on the season now.
And you'll see it here. That's just a great read by Grace, reading the quarterback's eyes, knowing where the route combination ended up. And he caught the ball, gets the turnover. This Western Michigan team is loaded. And when Tim Lester got here, after P.J. Fleck took the Minnesota job, there was still a lot of talent left in that cupboard. Tim Lester, who played here, he took it over, and then he added his sauce to everything. And that's why this program is still rolling and has a chance to win a division title.
That pass was nearly batted down at the line of scrimmage. And credit Jerry Roberts, the linebacker, off the edge for getting in the passing lane there. It's an incompletion, and there's an injured Bowling Green Falcon on the Western Michigan sideline right now.
Timeout on the field for an injured player.
The other thing, too, Chris, about the MAC conference is, to me, it's all about matchup. Some teams match up better versus something than other teams do. So when you see a Bowling Green team that's struggling a little bit offensively today, they beat Toledo, and you'll see the tail end part of this injury.
Ooh.
He rolled his ankle just at the tail end off Sky Moore's foot. Just a little incidental contact, but certain teams in the MAC, you just don't know how they match up. The same way with Eastern Michigan, who gave one away to Ball State, loses Mike Glass and comes back and airs it out against Western Michigan. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where certain teams in this conference, they just match up better, and so goes with Bowling Green versus Western Michigan today. What Western brings to the table offensively is causing Bowling Green a lot of problems through the air and on the ground, most notably.
Western Michigan is 2-2 in conference play coming into this match, and you just saw Jawan Hudson helped off the field. But in that West Division, Western Michigan is behind Ball State by a game and a half, and Western Michigan still has to play Ball State, so the division still far from decided as Levante Bellamy races out of bounds at the 41-yard line.
And then when you look at a guy like Bellamy, who's you just saw our rushing rampage numbers, and he's hit some long balls today, going the distance, and that makes your life easy on offense. And once these Falcons start to get all their pieces in through recruiting, they're going to find some guys like that too that can just go the distance and make your life easy as a coordinator.
Bellamy, so patient and elusive. First down, Western Michigan.
Bellamy can do it inside and outside. He can catch the football. And this offensive line has been blocking. They've been blocking like they're trying to win a championship. See the backup tackle, Dylan Deathridge in there getting some action, pushing some guys around. Spencer Cants on the right side, just widening out the defensive ends, getting up to the second level, and it's really a tough offense to stop, especially with Ricci at tight end.
This is Devon Tucker, not much inside.
But if you're Bowling Green, there's a lot of football left to be played. But now's the time when you start to run some of the plays in your package just to get them on film, to see what they look like, see what you like, see what you don't like. As you see, the big fella, that's your guy right there, Chris.
Yes, sir. Luke Jariga, who Tim Lester said is the best offensive lineman he has ever coached. Crossing route, complete to the 20-yard line. That's Deshaun Bussell, his first catch of the day.
In the middle of the field gets opened up after you establish the run the way Western has done, and those defensive backs are playing a little conservative.
Tucker is met in the hole by Brandon Purse, the junior college transfer. 3-yard gain.
You're going to see a lot of guys start to rotate in the game, a lot of backups, some freshmen. Try to get some of that action. I really like the new freshman rule where you can play up to 4 games and still keep your red shirt.
Well, you know, that'll really help a rebuilding team in particular like Bowling Green. They can get some guys experience without having to burn eligibility. Bellamy has been unstoppable in the second half. His 4th touchdown of the game. He's over 1,000 rushing yards for the 2nd straight season. And he has got Western Michigan on its way to a 5-0 start at home.
Well, just take a look. Freeze it right here. Once you get that, once you get the big block on the outside, the young fella, Dylan Deathridge, I mean, he just mauled his guy out of the way. But when you get some run lanes that are that big, and a guy like Bellamy with his type of vision, those are the kind of plays that are going to go for touchdowns.
I'm not sure Bellamy was touched on that 18-yard rush. Let's look again.
Watch the right side of this offensive line. Start with number 70. Once he starts to get up the field right there, and then you get your kick-out block, now it's all Bellamy playing with his eyes, and those linemen start to work second level. Now your linebackers are gobbled up. Makes it tough as a defensive back to fit the run. You don't know where it's going to pop. And Bellamy walks into the end zone.
I think there's something to be said for Levante Bellamy's career path at Western Michigan. Remember, he came into the program and he was behind Jarvion Franklin, the best running back statistically in program history. He rushed for nearly 5,000 yards. Last year it was a 1A, 1B situation with Jamari Bogan in the Thunder and Lightning backfield that Western Michigan had last year. But through it all, Bellamy has done his time on the bench learning. He's shared the workload, and now he gets the chance to be the guy as a senior. No transfer portal. You know, he stayed and is reaping the benefits of his patience, his work ethic, and his diligence.
And he also grew up with this offensive line. You talk about having four juniors and a senior. Those guys are all relatively the same age, and they're going through the battles and playing scout team together, you know, going through all of the hard, training camps, all the stuff that you do in the offseason. So there's a bond there with Bellamy and this offensive line.
And it's a bond that Bowling Green is certainly hoping to establish in years going forward. We mentioned that Bowling Green was light at the running back position in terms of scholarship athletes. They're also light at the quarterback position. They have just one active scholarship quarterback behind Grant Loy. It's Darius Wade, the fifth-year senior from Boston College. Run play up the middle to the 29-yard line. That was the true freshman Trayvon Raymore. And what really set Bowling Green back this year in terms of finding its identity on offense, the best quarterback on the roster right now for Scott Loeffler is not eligible to play. Matt McDonald, who was brought over by Loeffler from Boston College, where Loeffler was the offensive coordinator, was not granted eligibility by the NCAA this year. Raymore with another carry to bring up third and short. And so Bowling Green is really excited about where this offense can go next year when Matt McDonald is eligible. And Grant Loy is still going to factor into the plan as well. They think he could actually be a pretty good tight end, maybe be that complimentary tight end to Quentin Morris.
Yeah, and their game planning and recruiting, they're going to take their lumps this year, but they're going to figure it out, and they're going to get the pieces. But they're definitely still going to keep competing every snap.
Catch made by Presley Moats, just his second catch of the season. And a big tackle keeps Bowling Green shy of the first down line. And it's punt time for the Falcons, still fairly deep in their own territory at the 34.
Well, one of the things about Western Michigan today, they didn't give up the big play except for early in the third quarter. And when you make offenses have to earn it and go 80 and 60 and 70 yards against you,
of the third quarter,
you're going to be hard to beat.
21 points in the second quarter for Western Michigan, 28 more in the third. We're on to the fourth, 49-10 Western. It's been the Levante Bellamy Show this afternoon. 4 touchdowns and 178 yards on the ground. Western Michigan has hijacked this game 49-10 after Bowling Green scored the first points in what seems like a long time ago back in the first quarter. Good punt by Matt Naranjo, and it bounces well inside the 20 to the 14-yard line.
Well, because it started off like a boxing match where the first you start filling one another out in the early part of the rounds, and then Western Michigan was able to just take advantage of this game, make some big plays in the middle rounds, and just ran away with it. But running the football is something that Tim Lester knows that this offense is going to have to do well if they're truly going to get back to Ford Field. And so far today, it looks like they established it, especially getting their bell cow Bellamy the football.
New quarterback in the game for Western Michigan, as Sean Tyler is angled out of bounds. Quarterback number 10, Griffin Allstott, sophomore from St. Petersburg, Florida, a Purdue transfer, and might be starting to put some pieces together, hearing the name Allstott, hearing the school Purdue. His dad, Mike Allstott, was a standout for the Boilermakers and a longtime Tampa Bay Buccaneer.
And Mike Allstott was a great one. I played against him in my days at Michigan. And he ran the ball. He was a fullback body with tailback skills, and he was a great one. He's one of the best to ever do it at that position.
Tyler tackled on the play by Jerry Roberts. Allstott is 5 for 5 passing on the season. 31 yards and 1 touchdown through the air, as John Wasink will sit presumably the rest of this game. There is another quarterback on the depth chart who has gotten some action in his career, Caleb Ellaby, a sophomore, but in talking to some of the Western Michigan folks, if they can, they want to keep Ellaby for a redshirt year this year, so it's Allstott's turn to run the show. And there goes Tyler, who can't quite get around the last man on the outside. It's Jordan Anderson who brings him down.
That's a good tackle by Anderson, and if you're Brian Van Gorder, you want to see more of that, especially out of your younger guys here. You'll see they run the split zone this time. Split just means the backside tight end or H-back works back across to the play side. And right here, getting off a block and making that tackle to prevent a bigger run. It's a good play for Jordan Anderson.
Western Michigan now has over 500 yards of total offense in the game. And Allstott on the keeper breaks a tackle. And knocked down out of bounds. Allstott running like his old man. 6'2", 225 with some make-a-miss potential. And there is a flag that came in on the sideline. You could probably tack on 15 more.
Personal foul, defense, number 33. Unnecessary roughness, late hit out of bounds. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Well, you know one thing, Griffin Allstott, that is, he's a good athlete. You saw the footwork right there in space, making people miss. And then you see the late hit out of bounds right there. In today's football, there's zero tolerance for taking shots, especially on quarterbacks after they give themselves up, headed out of bounds.
Doubtful we'll see any more Levante Bellamy the rest of the day as well. Here's Sean Tyler up the chute and gang tackled by a couple of brown jerseys. Antonio Sotolongo, number 21, fifth-year senior from Miami, dragged him down from behind.
Well, when you see Allstott in the game, it really adds the component of the quarterback run game. So there's going to be a good 1-2 punch with the running back, Tyler. You'll see Allstott pull it off the read. So you'll get more quarterback runs when he's in the game.
Here's Allstott's first throw of the ball game, and it's just beyond the outstretched arm of Corey Crooms.
Looks like Griffin Allstott rushed that pass a little bit. He didn't give Crooms a chance to separate. Another half second, and no one was in his face. Another half second, and that could have been a big play, possibly a touchdown. Allstott doesn't throw it much. He was, like you mentioned, 5 for 5, and that's his first incompletion of the year, but he wanted to get the big one on his resume.
That's right. Hey, it's your time to shine. You got a quarter to show the coaching staff here what you can do. Tyler trying to do the same, but he lost the football. It's still loose. We showed you that feature at halftime about what exactly goes on the field when you see the ball pop free like that. But it looks like Western Michigan was able to recover the fumble, and the left tackle, Jalen Moore, out of Detroit Consortium, recovered the miscue.
Yeah, the young fella Tyler had the ball in the wrong hand. When you're running to the outside, you want the ball in the outside hand. Nice job on defense of knocking that ball out. Looks like Sotolongo got his hands on the football. It was fortunate enough to take a Bronco bounce, and that's just the story of today's game. Things have bounced their way.
Sure thing. Devon Tucker. And he runs into Colby Coleman and picks up 2 to the 26.
I like the call by Brian Van Gorder, defensive coordinator for the Falcons. One of the things he did on that play was added the cornerback into the run game. It's really an old school philosophy. They call it a Cobra Blitz. But when you bring that corner from the short side of the field, when you bring them like that, then the defensive line is able now to slant into the center of the offense to try to cut off some of those run lanes.
Cam Cooper is in the slot for Western Michigan. The Broncos keep it on the ground, and Sean Tyler is collared down on the play by Roberts.
Saw Tyler that time put 2 hands on the ball.
You're right.
When he was in traffic.
Yeah.
Young fella doesn't want to give up too many of them. Ball security is at a premium for all these offenses, and that guy right there, Tim Lester, he likes what's going on. He's probably laughing about it too, saying, yeah, Tyler better hold on to it. I'm going to get him out of there.
Western Michigan has run the ball 46 times today. Sean Tyler is one of 3 backs with over 10 carries in the game. From the 18, 1st and 10. 2 more for Tyler. And Tyler is now rushed for 74 on the ground.
And Griffin Allstott's doing a fine job of carrying out his fake after he hands the football off. That's what keeps the defense honest. And it makes that overhang player on the outside of the defense, whether it's an end or an outside back, it keeps him out of the run play and gives your running back a chance to get 2 or 3 more yards.
It's a great observation. Tanner Mathias is the flex tight end off the left side of the line, number 38. And Tyler tries to bounce it outside and does. Great block on the edge by the wide receiver, Corey Crooms, and it buys Tyler enough yardage to get to the 3.
Well, they run the power play where you get your backside guy pulling. Dylan Deathridge, 72, said his name a few times. I mean, he's really handling the left side of that defensive line. Good run by Tyler, had the ball high and tight, trying to get into the end zone.
Deathridge is making his first career start, by the way, a sophomore out of Bishop McNamara High School in Kankakee, Illinois. That's significant because it's also where Jonathan Ward, the standout running back for Central Michigan, played his high school ball. Nothing that time for Tyler. He was finished off on the play by Javon Henderson.
If you're Bowling Green right now, you don't want to fall asleep on a quarterback run or a little bit of play action. You know, this offense has the ability to get guys the ball anywhere on the field, and once they lull you to sleep with the run, then they'll flick one out there in space.
Tyler sniffing the end zone, and his nose is plugged. Bowling Green is still playing hard. Give the Falcons credit.
Well, I've been knowing Scott Leffler, I want to say, for 26 years. And we came up through the Michigan program. Terry Malone comes along in 97. I told Terry on the phone that we didn't win a national title till he showed up, and he said his wife agreed. But you see Steve Morris in there, great linebacker at Michigan, his linebacker coach. Spent some time with the Lions. And the point of me saying all that is toughness is going to be a premium in this program on both sides of the ball. That's where all of these guys come from. That's the cloth that they're cut from, is toughness.
Allstott is bottled up behind the line on 3rd and goal. That was one of the funnier parts of our conversation with Terry Malone. As you mentioned, his first year on Michigan's coaching staff as the offensive line coach was 1997, the year he won the national championship. And to this day, Terry Malone's mother is convinced he is the reason why Michigan won the national championship. In addition to Marcus Ray, of course. 49-10 Western Michigan, 4th and goal when we return. Field goal opportunity for Western Michigan. Bowling Green has been good on special teams this year. 3 blocked kicks. This game well out of reach for Bowling Green, but certainly playing for momentum through the remaining month of the season. And it's a fake, either that or a botched snap. Presley Moats is tackled nowhere close to the goal line at the 8-yard line. And worth noting that that was not Western Michigan's primary place kicker. That was
timeout.
Michael Arenberg, the junior from Cary, Illinois, who has not attempted a field goal kick this season. So perhaps that was an indication that something was awry on that formation. We'll take a timeout. Be back after this. Mark has talked about how good this offensive line is and the bond that they share on the field. And they've got a band off the field, too, working on that chemistry no matter where they are on campus. That was Luke Jariga, the center, on drums, and guard Jordan Asbury on electric guitar. They've also got former offensive lineman converted now to the defensive line, Wesley French, in the band as well. He's the singer. And these guys have a lot of fun, on and off the field. It's cool.
Yeah, man. Probably going to drop a hit record one day,
right,
man. You know what I mean? But that's a nice hobby to have with your guys, man, to sit around and be able to work on some music. Aside from watching film and working out, doing all this grueling football regimen. But it's good to see those guys having a good time.
Well, Jariga taught himself how to play drums and piano just by watching YouTube videos. Pretty cool story. Bowling Green on offense right now as they work in their bench. First carry of the game for Nigel Seeley, the junior from George Washington High School in Philadelphia. Third and 1.
See, Western Michigan's got some of their backup guys in too as well. But the one thing you do know at this level of football is you get evaluated on every play. Regardless of what the scoreboard is, these coaches are still looking for attitude, effort, and execution.
Here's Seeley again, and he is dropped in the backfield. The ball pops free. Timothy Collins laid the wood on the Bowling Green ball carrier. That's a loss of 6 yards. And it brings up 4th down.
Well, there was a good surge right up the middle if you look at the right guard. But off the edge, you just can't leave a big fella like Timothy Collins unblocked. The way he knifed down in there, separated the man from the football. It's good execution up front by the Broncos.
Matt Naranjo's punt. Just barely gets to the 50-yard line, and it's touchdown there.
One of the things you'll see in this conference is a lot of guys know each other. And
3:47 to go, all Western Michigan. A rainy second half in Kalamazoo, and Western Michigan's offense has rained rush yards on Bowling Green, up 49-10, 384 yards on the ground and climbing as Western Michigan gives the ball to Rashawn Davey, the sophomore out of North Central High School in Indianapolis. Levante Bellamy is from Indianapolis as well. That is Davey's first carry of the day. You see the upcoming schedule for Western Michigan, that big game against Ball State coming up on November 5th. That will go a long way to determining the winner of the MAC West Division. Ball State today is at home against Ohio. That game is underway.
And that's a good crossover game, I think, for Ball State and Western Michigan is playing against Solich's Fighting Bobcats.
That's right, a big game for Frank Solich of Ohio. With a win today for Ohio, he would tie the great Herb Duramity, the longtime Central Michigan head coach, for most MAC wins ever at 110. So big game between Ball State and Ohio today. Coming up for Bowling Green, they'll be at home, they'll be on the road, and again a chance to continue to round into form under Scott Loeffler. And we'll be really interested to see how this Bowling Green team continues to develop the rest of this season, yes, but how they can carry some momentum into the offseason.
And then if you're Bowling Green and Scott Loeffler, you really want to win those in-state games against Akron and against Miami just to try to get a leg up in recruiting.
Good point.
There are 6 MAC schools in Ohio, and they all pluck from the same pool of recruits. So when you win, that gives you a little bit of an edge.
Hard run by Rashawn Davey. You were talking a little bit about Terry Malone, the offensive coordinator for Bowling Green, and there are lots of connections between both of these coaching staffs, and a lot of them actually revolve around the program that you played for down the road in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, when you look at places like Michigan and they become a cradle of coaches, you have to understand that Terry Malone, who's been all over the map, if you will, in coaching, spent some time in the NFL with the Saints. He actually was the running back coach for Tim Lester. So those guys know one another extremely well. And then when Leffler got the job, then Malone was able to become the offensive coordinator and join Scott Leffler, someone who he had known since he was a player.
Another carry that time for Western Michigan's Trey Allen. A couple of carries on this drive for the redshirt freshman from Pontiac, Michigan.
And then, Chris, when you hire a staff that has been a lot of places and has this type of experience, they can go in different parts of the country and recruit just with their resume. You talk about Steve Morrison, who's from Michigan, played at Michigan, coached, spent some time at Western. I mean, these guys know each other. But then Eric Campbell has been at Iowa, Michigan, Delaware. He's been all over the place. So you can revisit those same high schools when you're trying to rebuild a program.
Well, both head coaches of these two programs, they have forged a friendship over the last year. Scott Leffler and Tim Lester text frequently, not so much this week, of course, but they keep in close contact. Scott Leffler actually hooked up his buddy Tim Lester with some Walt Disney World passes for Lester and his family. So the two share a close bond forged by the quarterback bond and also now the head coaching bond in the MAC. And Tim Lester, in a lot of ways, has created the culture around his program that Scott Leffler wants to emulate, and he's going to get there, Marcus. You know the character of Scott Leffler and the caliber of the staff around him. They're going to turn things around in Bowling Green.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see these guys in a couple of years if they were at Ford Field playing for a MAC championship.
Last thought on Western Michigan, Marcus. A lopsided win today. They're very good at home. If they really want to tell the rest of the conference they're serious about winning the division in the conference, they have to find a way to win on the road.
And that's called TNT, toughness and talent. And teams that win a championship have that TNT, which means they have the mental toughness to go onto the road and win, and they can also win close games. So TNT is what you're looking for out of a championship type caliber team. But this Western Michigan team is loaded. They're extremely well coached, but they're going to have to win on the road if they're going to achieve their goals. And if you're Bowling Green, you can watch the film, you go back to the drawing board, and you keep fighting.
Marcus, my friend, always a pleasure. Good job as always. Talk to you down the line. For Marcus Ray and Michael Bacon, our producer-director, today our fantastic crew from Classic Teleproductions. My name is Chris Foster, saying so long from Kalamazoo. Western Michigan literally runs away with this one, 49-10. 399 ground yards for the Broncos today. They stay perfect at home and improve to 3-2 in the Mid-American Conference. So long from Kalamazoo.